So not only did Robert Downey Jr. immediately reach out to JD, making sure to touch base with him after his victory, but he's also tirelessly advocated for JD, trying to make sure to get him work time and again in Hollywood, mentioning him in things like Sherlock Holmes 3 and so many other items. Now, the beautiful thing about this, too, is that the source that revealed all of this is somebody that would indeed know. We're not talking about some tabloid anonymous source behind the scenes. We're talking about one of JD's friends. I mean, this is a guy that has known JD for 33 years. Plus, he backed JD in the courtroom, too, even putting together a declaration. You and I, we're going to look at all of that stuff today, too. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. So, hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. And a few days ago, we had an absolute bombshell dropped on us, revealing everything we had heard about Robert Downey Jr., how this guy, he had stood with JD, he had stood when no one in Hollywood wanted to be seen with the man. This was 100% legit. In fact, he was one of the first people to reach out to make sure to tell JD congratulations on his win in the courtroom. Listen to this here. Quote, one of the first people to congratulate JD for winning his defamation trial was Avengers star Robert Downey Jr. JD's close friend, actor Josh Richman, revealed the conversation between JD and Robert Downey Jr. during a charity live stream event for the CHLA. John, thank God it's over. That's what Robert Downey Jr. reportedly told JD over FaceTime. And you know what? This turned out to be legit too. How do we know that that was legit? Well, not only did Josh Richman say it, but you had a rep for JD confirm that the two did indeed FaceTime. That conversation did happen. And that confirmation, it legitimizes something else we've been hearing about for the last few weeks as well. Something that the mainstream media, by the way, they've been desperate to try to shoot down, saying Robert Downey Jr. and JD, they don't have communication. They're not friends. From what I understand behind the scenes, by the way, from sources, they are indeed good friends. In fact, JD, he stood with Robert Downey Jr. when he had his problems in Hollywood, when people wanted him gone. So Robert Downey Jr., well, he's reportedly been trying to return the favor. And you can see the headline right here. Will JD star in Sherlock Holmes 3? Robert Downey Jr. reportedly trying to rope in the actor. Now, as far as name recognition and advertisement are concerned, this would be somebody that you would desperately want on your next project as well. You have Robert Downey Jr. in the past, too, saying that he's always wanted to work with famous personalities. Well, talk about a famous personality right now. You have JD, who has millions of people following him on TikTok. He has millions more following him on Instagram. He has billions of hits on his name with Justice for JD and other hashtags. He is one of the most recognized actors in the world right now, bar none. Nobody compares to that on social media. Now, the source of all of this, one Josh Richman, this is a guy that is in the know. If you look at his declaration, and we're going to read through this too, because a lot of people, they have never seen this, but Josh Richman, he says in number 2, I have known and considered JD a friend for approximately 33 years. So again, this isn't just some nobody speculating about things. This is somebody that knows about it. This stuff was confirmed. So he did indeed know about that conversation. And this guy, he is in that inner circle. You can see this right here. I attended JD's wedding ceremony with AH in the Bahamas on February the 7th, 2015. It was a small island. Number of wedding attendees was quite small. And he tells you what the circumstances were like there. None of the few of JD's actual friends who attended were happy JD was marrying AH, and we discussed it openly. The general view of his friends, which I shared, although we hardly knew the full details then, was that AH emotionally accosted and tormented JD, cut away his real friends, and was emotionally cruel to him. He always seemed to live in fear of how she would act if he ever tried to break up with her. His family, friends, and I always felt he succumbed to her demands that he marry her for this reason, among others like it. Now you can tell as this guy continues too that he wants nothing but the best for JD. He notes one of the few specific incidents we knew in particular raised mine and his other friends' concern. We, and certainly I, knew from JD that prior to the wedding, that on the night they had an argument, JD recounted to me, AH went into the bathroom, came out with a Kleenex with red on it, saying that he had given her a bloody nose. But after the incident, he retrieved the Kleenex, which he says he still has to this day. AH had placed red fingernail polish on the Kleenex. It was incidents like this, of which his friends knew only a fraction, that made us concerned for his well-being in this marriage. Anyone who has known JD for a long time, or even briefly, would notice that he is a uniquely chivalrous, kind, and thoughtful person who treats every human being the same, is always helpful person, and doesn't like harming even the feelings of other people. I remembered that AH, her sister, and friends seemed inebriated or drugged out throughout much of the wedding. The day before the wedding, AH's friends and members of her wedding party, Io Tillett Wright, violently accosted another member of the wedding party, Rocky Pennington, during an argument about wedding details and who was essentially going to assume the role of wedding planner to carry out AH's frivolous missives. They were all like a bunch of spoiled children, setting out this charade of a marriage at great expense to JD, whom we all knew was more than coerced and shamed into proceeding with AH's demand to be married before JD was to depart shortly to film abroad. Most or all of the wedding guests on this tiny island heard about this incident during the weekend. Unlike the rest of AH's friends, I found Io clever and funny and got along well with her or him. She or he beat up Rocky. A lot of guests were hanging out at the bar, and I asked Io what happened. He laughed and said that Rocky was being hysterically about the wedding planning, crying and carrying on. He offered the facts gladly that physically accosted Rocky. Io was laughing and gloating about this incident. I then gave Io a funny nickname based on the rapper ASAP Rocky. I Slap Rocky. Many of the wedding guests and Io's girlfriend called Io I Slap Rocky for the rest of the weekend. Io was quite proud of this and seemed to find it hilarious, like a badge of honor. So this is somebody, again, that had a lot of knowledge behind the scenes. They are somebody that would know about this stuff, and they're telling us that Robert Downey Jr. is standing in that corner. And you know what? There are a lot of other people that I'm hearing about standing in that corner as well.